Metals are highly structured crystalline solids, yet apply enough pressure and they deform into new shapes without shattering. Early physicists modeled this behavior by calculating the energy needed for perfect planes of atoms to slide past one another. However, their results predicted forces thousands of times higher than what it actually took to bend a piece of steel. The math only aligned with experimental reality if the crystal contained existing line defects, dislocations, which allow the lattice to shift one row of atoms at a time. This theory evolved across the early 20th century, progressing from Schmid's 1924 definition of specific slip directions to Taylor's 1938 model of complex multi-slip interactions. The observable flow of a metal under load reflects the cumulative migration of millions of these microscopic flaws through the crystal lattice. To map how these flaws migrate, we must establish the 4 physical axioms that govern crystal slip. Deformation requires dislocation motion, follows specific atomic paths, and occurs without breaking the underlying structural consistency of the lattice. However, the most mathematically restrictive of these rules is the 4th principle, incompressibility. We define incompressibility by setting the trace of the strain rate tensor strictly to 0. This indicates that the sum of the diagonal elements is 0, meaning the material volume remains strictly constant during plastic flow. Because volume is conserved, purely hydrostatic pressure cannot induce a shape change. Only shear, directional stress can drive the motion of dislocations. A single metal grain at the microscopic level behaves very differently than the smooth, continuous curves we observe on a macroscopic scale. Microscopically, displacement is concentrated on very specific, discontinuous planes, where dislocations move in localized segments. These planes are spaced so closely together that the millions of individual movements firing in sequence appear to the eye as a uniform, homogeneous shear. To predict that final shape change, we must first map the precise microgeometry of the crystal lattice. Slip follows the path of least physical resistance, the shortest atomic repeat distances on the most densely packed planes. This table details the available slip systems for different structures. For face-centered qubit metals, slip is restricted to the 111 planes and 110 directions. Within the FCC unit cell, we can visualize this specific close-packed 111 plane cutting diagonally through the cube. Along this plane, the 110 vectors provide the shortest distance between atoms, making them the most efficient routes for dislocation motion. With 4 such planes and 3 available directions on each, an FCC crystal possesses 12 active slip systems. This high number of available highways for defects to travel is the reason FCC metals like copper and aluminum exhibit such high levels of ductility. For a slip system to function, the direction of motion must lie perfectly within the designated plane. This geometric constraint requires that the slip plane normal and the slip direction vector are completely orthogonal, resulting in a scalar product of 0. By multiplying the vectors for the 111 plane and the 101 direction, the result is 0, proving the direction is geometrically valid. This calculation confirms that dislocation motion is not random, it is strictly bound by algebraic geometry. We can observe the results of this geometry directly on the surface of deforming metals. When dislocations travel along these geometric planes and reach the boundary of the solid, they create microscopic offsets on the surface. Repeated motion along the same plane accumulates into visible terrace-like lines known as slip bands. Material scientists use the orientation and spacing of these surface scars to determine the exact deformation history of a specimen. As millions of these dislocations move through the grain, they begin to interact and tangle, causing the metal to resist further deformation. We define this increase in resistance mathematically as the work hardening rate, denoted as theta. This formula expresses the increase in flow stress, tau, required to generate additional shear strain, gamma. Engineers experience this effect when a metal becomes harder to bend the more it is deformed, a direct result of dislocations crowding the lattice. The shear stress-strain curve acts as a map, connecting microscopic traffic to macroscopic behavior. In stage 1, the easy glide region, the hardening rate is low because dislocations move on parallel paths with minimal collisions. In stage 2, the hardening rate spikes as multiple slip systems activate, causing dislocations to pile up and block one another. This rapid accumulation creates a massive microscopic traffic jam that significantly increases the applied force required to continue deformation. Eventually, the curve flattens in the recovery regions as high stresses force dislocations to cross-slip or annihilate, relieving some of the internal pressure. The shape of this macro curve reveals the internal life of the crystal, from free movement to total gridlock. Macroscopic strain integrates discrete slip events, governed by the lattice geometry. While we've mapped where slip occurs, what triggers the movement? External loading must exceed a critical resolved shear stress to overcome the internal geometric friction. The transition from elastic to plastic behavior rests on this intersection. Crystal geometry defines the available pathways, while the precise magnitude of the applied stress decides when the first dislocation begins to move.